So we're ready to start. Okay. Good afternoon, everyone, and welcome to 5G Cybersecurity through the lens of business. I'm Stavros Polikalas, and I will be coordinating today's session on behalf of PNET, Emerging Networks and Verticals, as part of SAND5G Consortium's Through the Lens of webinar series. Today, we are going to focus on a simple idea. In 5G plus ecosystems, cybersecurity is not only a technical requirement, it is a business enabler. It affects trust, market access, and how SMEs can scale across partners and borders with confidence. Our agenda today includes 3 expert talks followed by Q&A. We will start with Mr. Ovidiu Mihaila from Bitdefender, who will talk on cybersecurity as a market entry condition for European SMEs. It will be followed by Kostas Poulios from Sphinx on cybersecurity platforms as decision support for SMEs leaders. And we'll conclude our webinar with Wissam Malouli from Motimatch on practical deployable security solutions for SMEs in 5G plus networks. Please drop in your questions in the chat throughout the webinar, ideally with your name and organization, and I'm going to group them all up for the Q&A session at the end. So let's start. Over to you.
Thank you. Welcome and thank you for joining us today. My name is Ovidiu Mihaila and I'm representing Bitdefender. And I would like to thank you for inviting me to take part within this webinar. And I do hope that by the end of this session, the participants will have a more complete perspective on why cybersecurity is now a market condition. I have divided my presentation in the following points. First of all, we'll start with an overlook over the cybersecurity in 2026. Then we will try to understand the threat reality. We'll try to look at SME vulnerability. Then we'll try to quantify the business impact. And I will make some actionable priorities together with an implementation roadmap. By the end of the presentation, I will be providing you with what I consider some takeaways. And I do hope that you will carry them to your colleagues and your board members. First of all, let's try to understand cybersecurity in 2026. And the statement that I'm starting with is that cyber risk is not an IT task anymore, is now a business competitiveness problem. And I'm using a visual to describe a bit why I believe this. First of all, when we're talking about a cyber incident, we're seeing just the bare surface of such an event. Maybe it's, 10 to 20%, but it's definitely considerable more important in terms of the effects that it has below the surface. And here I have divided these events on the main pillars of your business. Basically, we're looking at the revenue, cost, regulation, competitive and reputational, and also now with the new directive NIS2, we're looking at the personal liability. All these are creating the invisible events and consequences of a cyber incident in 2026. Moving forward, I have tried also to understand a bit better the threat reality in 2026. And what we are witnessing now with the AI on board is that now we are talking about an industrialized criminal ecosystem, which of course has multiple triggers and consequences within this landscape. If we are starting with the ransomware, now we are seeing that criminals are using some sort of a service You don't have to have an extended technical expertise to conduct such operations. You just have to subscribe, and the community, the cyber criminals, will provide you with the tools and what is needed to conduct such activity. Therefore, because of the AI, we witnessed a growth of 81% for the past 2 years in what we are calling now ransomware as a service. If we're moving to the AI generating phishing, we can see that 80% of what's happening within the social engineering attacks in EU, it's triggered also, or it's founded by AI. This applies to malware, either if we are talking about industrial malware or adaptive malware, because AI, it's behind this aspect as well. One important aspect, which is, I believe, different in the past couple of years, it's what's happening from the perspective of geopolitics. What we had before, state attacks targeting other states or public organizations, it's not happening that much. But the same attacks are now targeting EU SMEs, because the attackers learn that SMEs can be very good attacking vectors. So this is another important change which has happened for the past couple of years. Now, let's move on to try to understand how this impacts the SMEs. And I think you are all familiar with this idea that maybe the founding teams, the startups teams, the founders from SMEs were thinking and considering that, look, guys, we are too small to be of such an importance for attackers. So most probably we are not targeted by these cyber incidents and attacks. Of course, this is not a reality anymore, and size, to me, is no longer a shield. And if we are digging deeper to understand what's happening on the SMEs foundation, we can see now that almost 9 out of 10 European SMEs don't have personnel, specific or specialized personnel allotted to conduct the cybersecurity posture of their organizations. And this is complemented by what's happening on the budgeting pillar. We can see here a difference, a significant difference in terms of the money invested by organizations in their security spending. If we're looking at large enterprise, we can see that we have a bit more than 1% of their revenue invested in security spending, while on the SMEs startup side, it's barely non-existing, with 0.1 percentage out of revenue. This creates situations where we can find that in the case of an event like ransomware, this lack of resources on these pillars, meaning personnel and funding, creates situation when, with a tested plan, your recovery time in the event of ransomware is around 7 days, while without a tested plan, you can have 23 days or even more to deal with the recovery phase. Also, I'd like to touch another 2 aspects or characteristics or on the SME side in terms of vulnerability. And here, one very important aspect to me is how startups and SMEs are treating their relation with the NIS2 directive. First of all, they fall under this directive if they are belonging directly to the 18 sectors covered now by this directive. And we're talking here about, critical infrastructure, healthcare institutions, water companies, and energy companies, so on and so forth. If your company is active within this sector, then you have to consider the NIS2 the directive. Another situation which triggers the SME vulnerability is when you are a supplier to such an NIS2 entity. And one example is if you're servicing, maybe you're a company with, I don't know, 15, 20, 25 employees, and you're servicing a hospital on a different service level, and this hospital, it's the subject of this directive, then you are obliged to comply with what this directive imposes to your client, and therefore, as a consequence, to your organization as well. Another vulnerability situation is that when your SME is in a sector which can be added within this directive as a sector reclassification, or most often there are a lot of companies, SMEs and startups within the EU, which are just learning now about the scope of this directive. And of course, this creates a huge vulnerability in terms of consequences for your company. Another element of the vulnerability is the supply chain exposure. And I'm going back to the resource allocation. This scarcity of resource allocation creates the context of lacking audits, cybersecurity audits. And of course, this triggers an effect that your organization might be wearing two hats. First of all, you're a victim, but most importantly, you're carrying the threat and the incident by being an attacking vector. What I illustrated so far is related to the threat landscape and the vulnerability, and I will try to indicate some information about how this impacts your SME P&L balance sheet and market position, how cyber risk flows through your key components of your business. First of all, if we're looking at the revenue impact, of course, you are dropping your customers just because you have incidents. Then because of these incidents, you're losing contracts. Of course, you're spending a lot of downtime, which impacts your revenue. And of course, probably you will be paying some ransom to regain control and reestablish your organization business-to-business activity, day-to-day activity. In terms of cost, you have some cost with recovery and remediation. Most probably, you will have to pay some fines. You will be maybe in a legal situation that you have to have some expenses for that. And if you're considering to add an insurance to protect you, you might be ending up with an increased cost of your insurance. One element that I would like to point out is that cybersecurity insurance doesn't replace your actual cybersecurity posture. It is just complementing, and for sure you have to observe a good cybersecurity structure within your organization. The last element of the business impact relates to the operations of your company. And of course, in the event of a cyber incident, you might face the service interruption, your data integrity might be compromised, you need to rebuild your systems, and also your employees might be affected. But this is, let's say so, the observational phase of our discussion. And I have tried to compile here some actionable priorities that your organization might put in place. You will see here some values in terms of investment, some values in terms of attack prevention, return of investment as well. This analysis is based on various reports at Bitdefender, McKinsey, ENISA, and Allianz compiled, and we have tried to help you see how your investment in various actions can protect you and can increase your cybersecurity posture. First of all, we are talking about phishing-resistant MFA. I think this is the most important step that you can take. And also, if you can see here, the annual cost for such an investment, it's the smallest. Then you can add other priorities, which by the end of this exercise will put you in a position to have an increased cybersecurity posture, and also will transfer you in a competitive position, the scope of our presentation. The next slide shows you a bit, illustrates you a bit the scale of this required investment for your immediate actions. And in terms of the implementation roadmap, I have tried to divide it in two sequences. The first is the 90 days agenda, and this should be the key priorities for you. First of all, you should investigate if you're falling with your organization under this NIS2 directive and try to determine exactly your position. Then you should try to establish some responsibilities and a minimum framework, cybersecurity framework, to act within, and of course to designate a specific person or team to lead this effort. And for the remaining part of this period, you should try to consider what I had indicated in the previous slide, non-negotiable priorities. But to become really competitive and use cybersecurity as a strong argument for your competitiveness, you should continue this effort in the following months. And here we can see 4 stages. The first one is the foundation that we already touched previously. Then you have the compliance step. Then you're moving into the resilience phase. And of course, by the end of this year, you should have a mature cybersecurity posture, which will create you several advantages. As takeaways, because I think my time for the presentation it's ending up, I would like to invite you to treat the cyber risk on your profit and loss and not on your IT risk register. To understand that the directive imposes personal liability on you as leader of your organization and not on your IT team. To understand that supply chain pressure will cost you clients, not your comfort. If you are following the 5 baseline controls or action, you can have a significant return of investment. And and the last idea is that you're still in a position to win supply chain advantage, while late movers will lose them. This is my perspective. It's my lens about cybersecurity. I do hope that although it was quite fast-paced, you followed this, and of course I'm available for the question when the slot will come. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Obediu, for your presentation. Now, Mr. Poulios, let's move over to you. Thank you.
Yes, thank you. Let me share my screen. Okay, good afternoon from me as well, and thank you for the invitation. Today I would like to approach 5G cybersecurity from a business perspective, particularly for SMEs operating in increasingly complex and multi-stakeholder ecosystems. So rather than focusing on technical architecture, as Obediu previously explained, we will explore how cybersecurity platforms can function as a decision support systems, helping SMEs understand the risk, prioritize their investments, and operate with greater confidence in the 5G environments. So 5G creates enormous opportunity for SMEs, new services, new vertical integration, new market access, but it also increases complexity. SMEs operate in multi-vendor environments, rely on shared infrastructure, integrate third-party components, and face growing regulatory obligations. The challenge is not only technical protection, it is understanding risk in an environment where you do not control all the moving parts. So complexity is external to the SME. So there is a decision gap here. So the real question for SME is not, are we secure? The real problem is decision-making under uncertainty. Security tools produce alerts and logs, etc. But the executives who take the decisions, they need clarity. Where are we exposed? If something happens, what is the business impact? Which investment reduces risk the most? This is where the decision gap appears. So we would say that this is not another technical problem. It is a leadership kind of problem because security tools produce data, but leaders need insight. So now how do we go from security tools to decision support? Traditional cybersecurity tools focus on detection and response. But SMEs need something different. They need decision support. 5G cybersecurity platform should translate technical signals into risk visibility, impact estimation, prioritize the actions, and awareness of ecosystem dependencies. So in other words, it must speak the language of the business. A traditional tool would say high CPU usage anomaly, but the decision platform should say this anomaly could disrupt your profitable service. So they need to take action immediately. So what is 5G cybersecurity platform in business terms? In business terms, such a platform helps SMEs assess risk before launching a service. It provides continuous awareness during the operation, and it clarifies supplier and ecosystem dependencies. Basically, it supports regulatory reporting, and most importantly, it helps justify security investments with evidence. Let's see a couple of use cases to make this more clear. Use case one is a pre-deployment risk assessment. So before deploying a new 5G-enabled service, SMEs must understand what changes in their risk profile. For example, an SME deploying remote healthcare over 5G must understand IoT endpoint exposure and cloud dependencies before launch. So this means what new assets are exposed, what new dependencies are created, what is the potential financial impact of disruption, etc. So a decision support platform provides this clarity before even CapEx is committed. Seeing another use case with related to operational resilience. In live environments, early detection reduces downtime. So in a 5G-enabled service, even minutes of downtime can mean direct revenue loss. So in this case, these platforms provide coordinated response, reducing business impact. Visibility allows better continuity planning. And for SMEs, resilience is not theoretical. It is basically survival. One last use case relevant to the ecosystem and supplier risk. 5G ecosystems are interconnected, as mentioned earlier. In 5G ecosystems, you inherit part of your partner's risk. So it's not only your risk, but you inherit, unfortunately, the risk of your partners. So risk does not come, is not isolated. Supplier vulnerabilities affect SMEs, and shared infrastructure create shared exposure. So decision support platform helps SMEs understand these interdependencies, which sometimes, unfortunately, traditional tools very rarely can provide. Why SMEs cannot afford guesswork in 5G? In 5G environments, SMEs cannot afford this. They operate with limited security teams, and they have limited budgets, constrained budgets, while at the same time, they depend heavily on partners, suppliers, and shared infrastructure, which means part of their risk is inherited, as I said. So on top of that, regulatory expectations are increasing with introduction of NIS2. So this combination creates a lot of pressure to the SMEs, and in this context, uncertainty becomes the real cost. Not knowing where your exposure is, not knowing which dependency introduces risk, not knowing which investment matters most. So a decision support approach reduces that uncertainty, and it replaces guesswork with visibility, and visibility with informed action based on taking informed decisions. Why this matters for SME growth? When SMEs have clarity about risk, they scale faster. They gain customer confidence. They build stronger partnerships. They reduce uncertainty in investment decisions. Cybersecurity becomes an enabler, not a blocker. So the key takeaway is simple in my eyes. 5G cybersecurity platforms are not only protection systems, they are business decision systems for SMEs. In 5G environments, cybersecurity platforms must evolve from protection systems into business decision systems. And for SMEs, clarity means confidence, and confidence gives you growth. I think that's all from me. Thank you very much. And happy to answer any questions later.
Thank you, Costa. So now let's move to Mr. Malouli from Montigmas.
Thank you. I will start sharing my screen. So, my name is Wissam Malouli. I'm a senior researcher and CTO in Montimage. Montimage is a small company located in Paris, and we are experts in telecom and cybersecurity. And as you can see in the slide on the top, we are involved in several European projects where we are dealing with 5G security. So all these 6 projects are running now, and we have different partnership with the telecom operator, manufacturer, dealing with 5G plus and 6G networks. And today I'll present you some smart and practical cybersecurity solutions for SMEs in this 5G plus environment. So I think that we have already this agreement that cybersecurity is a business issue for SMEs. Of course, 5G is a good and excellent technology that will increase connectivity and allow you to access more remote services, but it also increases exposure and dependencies. And of course, customers and partners now ask how they can detect and manage cyber incidents and how they can ensure service continuity and trust. This is fundamental for SMEs because cybersecurity can affect market access, contractual trust, cross-border collaboration, and as said by my two colleagues with NIS2 directive, now incident management and reporting are becoming mandatory even for SMEs. A lot of SMEs think that it's only for big, let's say, industries. No, if you are among these 18 sectors and you are dealing with 5G, you are obliged to deal with this NIS2 regulation and be compliant with it. Of course, as an SME, you have in general a specific role in this 5G ecosystem. You can be either an end user of 5G in the sense that you are using the 5G connectivity to access to some services, to some industry, to some research. You can also be technology or tool provider in the terms that you are designing tools that need to be done in a secure way, and these tools can also target 5G networks. You can also be an SME as a small 5G local or private operator that will manage some local 5G networks with some real operational responsibility. And you can be also some integrator or innovation enabler that will work on connecting infrastructure, application, and security across borders. The good thing in Montimage that we have different hats, because of course we are end users of 5G since we are using this connectivity to access to remote services, and we are having it even as a redundant connectivity for ensuring a continuity of our services. But we are also providing several tools that are targeting and in trying to ensure the cybersecurity of 5G. We are also a local 5G operator. We deployed some local 5G network in Murcia, for example, in Spain, for researchers so that they can use this 5G as a test bed to do some innovation and some local experiment. And with these different hats, we know what are the challenges of different SMEs from different perspectives. And this is something very important for SMEs to know what are their profile, what are their role in this 5G ecosystem, to know what they must be accountable for. If you are, for example, a 5G local operator, you will care more about this network availability, the security monitoring, this incident reporting. But if you are a service provider, you'll more think about your service continuity, your customer impact, and your incident communication. If you are tool provider, in this case, you will mainly rely on, you will use cyber security to do secure by design solutions, and you will handle vulnerabilities of your solution, and you will be responsible of their disclosure. And if you are integrator, of course, you need to have a secure integration and secure supply chain if you are using external tools. So finally, SMEs must behave as accountable actor with their scope of responsibility in the 5G ecosystem. But in all cases, these SMEs have always the same question: what will be a good solution for us? And do we have the necessary resources to use these solutions? When we say resources, it's not only in terms of financial resources, but also staff. SMEs can have also staff that are who is not expert in cybersecurity. And in this case, indeed, this is something very important to select the right solution that can fit the requirement of SMEs. In this next slide, I will propose you some technologies that are built by Montimage as open source solutions that can be used by SMEs. And these solutions, since they are open source, they are for free, and that can be used for different activities related to cybersecurity. The first one is called 5G Replay. You can find a website called 5greplay.org. that is an attacking system for 5G networks. So this tool, although of course to replay 5G network traffic, but also to mutate it to mimic some specific attacks. Of course, you can do some random mutation using some mutation operator, right? Deleting packet, duplicating packets, modifying some packet fields, some reordering, and even some changing in the bit rate, etc. This is very important. For example, this last one to perform some deny of service attacks. But the idea is also to have some specific rules to do this mutation to somehow specify some specific known attacks. And we are working now by using some AI, some LLMs to be able to generate automatically these rules from a description of attacks so that you are not obliged to write the mutation rules yourself, but you can generate them using AI. We are also, let's say, improving this tool using some reinforcement learning techniques to select the most impactful attacks that can harm your target system. And this is something very important because using this tool, we'll understand real risk and validate security mechanism and demonstrate credibility to customers and partners. It's very also important to have some tools to be able to detect attacks. So monitoring, intrusion detection, anomaly detection is one of the key activities in cybersecurity. And since in 5G we have environments that are distributed, virtualized, and highly dynamic, we need to have the possibility to use some tools that allow to analyze different attacks in different layers. And our MMT for multi-image monitoring tool 5G is a tool that allows to analyze not only network protocols, but also system logs, application logs, virtualization logs, because we have a plugin architecture that transforms any kind of log to the same kind of event, and then we can correlate this information to do some classical detection using some rule-based analysis. We do also some anomaly detection using some deep learning algorithms, and we also provide some root cause analysis to understand the origin of these attacks and to better react and adapt to these detections. So we need to know that SMEs need detection, and this detection need to be automated, lightweight, and actionable. And this tool is really highly flexible to be adapted in different contexts. I was speaking about reaction when we detect attacks. We have a tool called AI for SOAR that you can also find on GitHub that allow to correlate alerts from different detection tools and propose response actions and workflows. We are generating within this tool a set of playbooks that are executable, and we are automating this repetitive response step via these playbooks. This is something very interesting and very important to help the operator in terms of reaction, because with the stress of some specific attacks during operation, sometimes it's not easy to do the right reactions. One information and one step that is also fundamental to be compliant with NIS2 is to share these alerts with your local, regional, or national authorities, your CERT and CCERT, and we need to notify this cyber incident in general within 1 day maximum, with more information and evidences within the 30 days that are following the incident. And this, we have a tool called CTI for business continuity that allow this sharing of information, that is not only sharing the detection information, but also the mitigation that is provided for this specific incident, appended with some risk levels and some cascading effect that can happen in other critical infrastructures. And all this is done in a confidential way because we are anonymizing sensitive information within the logs and within the incident that we are sharing using MISP technology. And we validated this with the Romania cert. So I see that Ovidiu with us from Bitdefender Romania, and we are working indeed with this tool with the Orange. That is who is very interested to work with this kind of automatic sharing of information with some strategies depending on the level of risk and the level of impact of these incidents. So the CTIs finally is supporting also this cross-border cooperation and compliance with the different European member states. So I will finalize my presentation with some takeaways. So first of all, we need to know that SMEs are hybrid 5G actors, so they can have different roles. They can operate 5G, they can deliver services, they can be integrator, they can be tool providers. So they have different perspectives and they have different responsibilities, but they have still this limited staff and budget. They are not telecom grade SOC, and they have the strongest pressure on time to market. So they need to have cybersecurity. It's a must, but it needs to be scaled for SMEs. That's why they need to focus on their scope of control and impact to be able to perform the cybersecurity activities that are linked to this specific scope. And this cybersecurity must be responsible, aware security requirement that is depending on the SME's roles in the 5G value chain. They need to ensure this end-to-end security. This is something expected with NIS2. They need to share this information with their national authorities, and that's why they need to understand these attacks, these incidents, the mitigation action, and they need to have the dedicated tools. So here I present to you some tools that can help SMEs to perform these activities. They are open source solutions, but we are also building in several now European projects what we call cybersecurity marketplaces for SMEs. I'm involved in at least 2 projects. One is called Nero, the other one is called CyberSuite. We are building this marketplaces, allowing to have dedicated solutions, but also trainings for SMEs to be able to have hands-on training about these tools to allow them to deploy easily and to take benefits from these cybersecurity solutions and put them in an operational environment very, very quickly. And this is something very important to support these SMEs to perform their task. That is, as I told you, mandatory to be compliant with NIS2. And that's all. Thank you. Waiting for questions.
Okay, thank you, Wissam. I have some questions. So let's start with Wissam. Let's take it on from your presentation. Wissam, in your opinion, can artificial intelligence actually be trusted for incident response in case of cyber incidents?
This is a very important question. So today we are using AI in several cybersecurity solutions. And indeed, for example, in our tool for incident response, AI for SOAR, we are also using AI. And the trustworthiness of AI is something very, very important. And we need to be sure that this AI model that we are using are somehow robust enough, explainable, fair, accountable, etc. Trustworthiness is one of the key criteria that are linked to the AI Act, and we need to be sure that we are not having hallucination or bad decisions that are taken by these AI models. That's why, in general, we are trying to involve always operators in the loop. So the AI will only propose some recommendations about reactions or incident response, that can be, of course, filtered, or that can be adapted to the specific context of the target environment. And the idea is that the operator will select the one that will be really activated. Automation will only be done when there is a clear detection and a clear, I would say, rule-based reaction for a specific incident. So the AI will only support operator in this decision-making. And of course, we need always to have the necessary tools to validate that these AI models are trustworthy.
Thank you, Wissam. Mr. Poulios, Costa,
Yep.
since we're also on the artificial intelligence subject, has artificial intelligence impact your products in Sphinx and operations? If so, in what ways?
Yes, absolutely. AI is a big part of our platform, and definitely had a significant impact. Particularly how in transforming how cybersecurity data is interpreted and prioritized. So in most environments, not 5G only, the volume and complexity of data are too high for manual analysis. We get a lot of false alarms, and so it's impossible for humans to analyze this vast amount of data. So with the support of AI, it helps us it basically enables us anomaly detection and behavioral analysis, and basically faster correlation of these events. So, but beyond the detection, AI also enhances the decision support, because it helps us by estimating risk impact. So we're able to prioritize response actions, reducing this noise, the false alarms, as I mentioned. And for SMEs who have our platform, this is a very huge, has a very huge impact, especially with SMEs that have limited resources. And operationally, it allows this to trigger automation of response workflows instantly, improving scalability, and the response time basically becomes almost zero. And it helps a lot of our customers as well to take faster decisions and more informed decisions, basically having all this input from our platform. So the answer is yes, definitely AI has impacted our platform.
Thank you, Costa. Mr. Michaila, the same question with you.
Well, I think there is no news that Bitdefender, it's quite a large company being active within the field of cybersecurity for more than 2 decades now. So the first point in observing the AI impact is that Bitdefender started this roughly in 2008 with machine learning. And we have dedicated laboratories and researchers active within this field of machine learning and now AI. And what started as machine learning now, of course, evolved in various adaptation of large language models, which can be found either for the consumer products, either for the business segments. For example, we have a tool for consumers called Scamio. And this tool uses AI to identify scammers via various social networks. Also, we have something more evolved used for the business segment. We call it BRAIN, from Bitdefender Reflective Artificial Intelligence Networks. And what it does, it's actually analyzes hundreds of millions of endpoints to try to anticipate new threats. So I would say that Bitdefender was a pioneer in Europe in working with artificial intelligence. And what we are trying to do now is to utilize the capabilities of AI to its maximum to actually counteract this very dynamic that I've been presenting in the threat landscape in 2026 in Europe.
Okay. Thank you. And the second question for you, Mr. Michaela, it's a common, probably it's a very common question to you, because usually our understanding is that cybersecurity in big enterprises comparing to SMEs is different. But how should SMEs approach cybersecurity in a way same to enterprises, big enterprises, same? What should be their approach?
Well, I will try to give you an example. Bitdefender is now being part of a project called Consult, Cybersecurity for Software Development. And we invited together with Bitdefender and other partners some startups and SMEs to test our solution. And for us, what was striking was although those companies were quite developed, how little they pay attention to the cybersecurity posture. As mentioned in the presentation, the first idea was, come on, we are too small so that attackers will not care about our operations, but they didn't understand. And one specific case is that this company is active within the electrical green mobility sector. So they have access to a lot of clients' data, also some banking details, financial information. So you can imagine that a small company with maybe 25 to 30 employees is dealing with very sensitive information, but they never considered how important the cybersecurity posture is. And to concretely answer your question, I think the first step would be to understand where do I stand in respect to this directive NIS2, because this is very fundamental. Okay, let's start it from here, and then if the next question would be, do I have clients directly touched by this directive? If so, how can I become competitive and come to them with solutions which are cybersecurity proof? And then the next step would be, okay, if I'm in a weak position now, let's make a priority to implement those 5 actions that I've mentioned in my presentation, to try to consider my investment in this, so that I can build in a short amount of time a security posture which will bring me peace of mind to my team, my researchers, my workers, but most importantly, will create a competitive edge when dealing with my customers in competition. So I wouldn't look at larger companies to try to copy paste. I will try to understand where do I stand today, what's urgent to be done, and then how I can use cybersecurity as key differentiator to my vertical.
Okay, thank you. Now, I have also a question for Mr. Poulios. Mr. Costa, how can SMEs actually manage cybersecurity costs while they're still having clear visibility of the risks in the 5G environment?
Yes, that's very important matter for SMEs actually. And the key here is not to reduce security, but prioritize in a clever way. So SMEs don't need to invest everywhere at once as big firms would be able to do, for example, but they need to have some visibility first. So they need to understand where the real exposure lies, whether it's a critical service, supplier dependency maybe, or a regulatory risk, and then they can allocate the correct budget proportionally. So instead of buying more and more tools, they should focus on having a structured risk insight and prioritize their actions based on the business impact. Because as I mentioned earlier, the budget in the SMEs is very limited, especially if we saw this 0.1 that the video presented earlier. I was not aware that it is so low. So while in the modern environments, complexity increases. And it doesn't mean that more spending has to be invested in more spending increase without thinking. So a decision support approach allows SMEs to focus where the highest business risk is and invest accordingly. So it's not about spending more, it's about spending smarter based on visibility and prioritization, I would say.
Okay, thank you, Costa. Now, Mr. Maloli, I have a question for you also. Suppose that I'm the owner of an SME, and the question here is that whether the cybersecurity stack for 5G plus applications solutions is expensive for an SME. How this solution can be more tailor made to my business as an SME? Is there an opportunity in there? Any thought on that?
Yeah, there is something very important to be said, maybe, that 98% of companies in Europe are SMEs, and these SMEs share the same concerns in terms of limitation of budget and limitation of staff and let's say skilled people with cybersecurity. And this is something that is not easy to solve, because they are still target of cyber attacks, and the impact of these attacks can be really very important in their case. And there is even a lot of examples of SMEs that go bankrupt after a cyber attack. So it's very important for them to put in place the necessary solutions. These solutions are complex. These solutions are expensive. These solutions are not easy to deploy. What should they do? So I think that when we say they are complex, the first answer is training. So they need to raise awareness about cyber risk, cyber threats, how to detect them and how to mitigate them. So there is several training that are dedicated to SMEs that allow them to understand this cyber risk and to know how to deal with them. Then in terms of tooling and solutions, indeed, a lot of cybersecurity tools are today very expensive, but there is some light way of tools that are available and tailored for the budget of SMEs. When you speak about SOC, for example, solution, there is what we call mini SOC. Or when we speak about, and here, even in my presentation, I present some open source solution that can be also very interesting. In reality, there is very nice open source solution that, and if they are well deployed and well configured, they can be really things that are working very in operational context without any issue. Then the last question is related to the skilled people that will use these tools. And that's why it's very important for me to automate as much as possible several actions. Maybe today there is a lot of work in, let's say, it's still, I think, in a research part using agentic AI to allow automatic deployment configuration of tools in specific target context. So I think that SMEs need to take the advantage of these agentic AI solutions. And also, of course, they need to have the dedicated person that can run these tools and they can use them in their specific context. And of course, 5G is one of these contexts, and they need to apply this in their specific scope, depending if they are users, operators, integrators, to service providers, etc.
Just one final question, because I see that our time is almost close to be over. Are the SMEs in reality, are they within the scope of an IS2 for 5G cybersecurity? Because for sure, the big companies, big corporations are within the scope. But does this apply also to SMEs?
Of course, for me, this applies to SMEs, and a lot of big companies in Europe and work with SMEs. So In France, for example, Montimage, we are working very, very closely with Orange, and they are using our services, they are using our expertise, and we are building with them several, let's say, collaborations. And I think that SMEs are one of the, let's say, important stakeholders in Europe for 5G because they bring a lot of innovation. And I see even in the 6G network that is under development now, for the cybersecurity part, there is a lot of SMEs working on that. So finally, it's very important for them to be present, but to gain the trust of big companies. They need to understand exactly what is their cybersecurity posture, what kind of let's say standard and the regulation they are complying to. There is even some now working groups on SRA for cybersecurity, so Cyber Resilience Act for SMEs, for SME product, and I think it's something very, very important to be applicable, and they need to follow these best practices in terms of cybersecurity to exist in the market.
Thank you very much, Mr. Maloli. Thank you very much, Costa and Ovidia. Thank you very much from all the attendees. I don't see any more questions, so I think we can conclude unless I'm missing something. No, I do not see any more questions. So I would like to thank you all on behalf of PNET and the SAND5G project. I hope that your presentations were very useful to the people that attended. For me, for sure they were. And I'm really looking forward to have more connections to you, more discussions to the next upcoming webinars. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you for the invitation. Thank you. Bye-bye.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Bye.